I love it. Always noisy. And you participate in it. You're just not you're part of it. You're just not always listening.
Whatever mood you might be in when you first come in, and then after the drumming, how's it change?
Happy. Yes.
You ready? Let's go. I've spent a lot of time researching, particularly in the United States, the kind of current thinking of recreational music making, which means that you're taking people who wouldn't think of themselves as musicians and creating music with them. And we're also very locked into rhythm. I mean, you're locked into your mother's heartbeat when you're in the womb. You're born, you breathe at a certain rate, your heart is a certain rate, you speak with a certain accent here and there rhythmically, you shake hands in a certain way. So if people say, oh, I don't have rhythm, you've got to say, well, no, you do. You've just got to plug into it because it's really there. And that's all we're doing here. If you can get them to play a drum and 1, 2, 3 rhythmically, and they're in a rhythm, then it's not very difficult to think about anything else because your body and your brain is locked in and cycled with this rhythm. It's called the principle of entrainment. And once you're entrained into a rhythm, it's easy to keep going. It's like riding a bike, but it definitely focuses you away from any points of stress. It gets your breathing regular and cycled with the rhythm. The blood flow to your hands is better. There's a left-right main cross that happens, and the only other thing that does that is juggling. Some of them come from a situation where they've either played music and it's been too formal, or they gave up music because it was too formal, or they never approached it because it was too formal. So when they're invited to just take something and hit it, and that there are no wrong notes and nobody can make a mistake, I'd reckon 9 out of 10 people I deal with take to that really quickly. We do some kind of exercise work with them, starting and stopping, and there is some formality to it, but it's really basically just about lifting people's mood and giving them the chance to plug into their inner child, which they do readily. I mean, a good example of what we did today would be Jill, the lady on the end of the group. Jill has Parkinson's disease, which obviously means the shaking symptoms and things like that. She walked in today and she was very uncharacteristically unhappy. But we gradually got her settled in the corner, and we started with those quiet instruments, calming things, and just came at it at a very quiet, unobtrusive approach. But that sort of thing will draw somebody in, and it did draw her in. And her sister was talking to her as well, and as we draw her in more, then you give her some small rattles to play along with it. And I'm playing something that's in time that you can identify. And gradually you just draw her completely out of that mood into the happy mood, into the room, and the sound that we're all making together, because we're making the sound together, and that's the point of this. It's inclusiveness. They're included in a larger group, and most people want to do that and they want to be part of it. And that's what worked with Jill today, is to focus her attention on me and give her something very quiet, very non-confronting and very peaceful to listen to. So that snaps her from that situation into a new situation that's more positive, I think. Also throughout, the symptoms, the Parkinson's shaking symptoms stopped. Now, I can't give you a reason for that, but it was pretty obvious that they had. If somebody arrives in the group and they're visibly in pain, we start to make some music together, and this elevates their mood, because they're breathing differently and they're doing something physical, which usually helps. So their mood becomes elevated, and through that, the perception of their pain has changed. And I've seen this quite a lot. People walk in one state and walk out completely changed in another, and that's why I know that this works. I've seen it in a physical form. And I think also we're starting to get more of their family members coming in and working within the group, which is really quite good. And I had one lady say to me the other day, she can't talk to her father, but she can drum with him. Often we find, as we did with Lionel, we discover by giving him a ukulele, here's a guy that played guitar when he was very, very young, and hasn't played it for decades and decades. It gets this, and all of a sudden he's making this very musical sound, and loving it. And he's not playing any chords or anything, he's just playing open tuning, but it's very musical. And so that leads us to a point where if somebody like that is distressed or unhappy and you can't get to why, you can give them a ukulele and sit them in the corner and let them play. A lot of it is intuition, just doing what you think you should do at the time. And most of the time that actually works. Basically, every time we do this, it is different, and that's the incredibly interesting thing for me, because you're always thinking on your feet about, is this working, will I change it? And laughter is a big part of it. So that's how I assess the mood, And happier when you walk out than when you walk in, and if that's happened, then I'm very, very happy.